Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all doing fantastic. And now you're all having a great day. Without any further ado, let's jump right into it. Just woke up, of course. There's far too much to cover. Far too much. For those of you who have managed to not pay attention, I don't know how in the world you did it. The last 3 months have been, drenched in the idea of an Ethereum ETF. And this is immediately after we got the Bitcoin ETFs. The news 2 days ago was that apparently the SEC was actually in talks with all of these companies. The way that it worked before for the 9-10 companies, whatever, who have spot Bitcoin ETFs is that they were in constant discussions with them. We heard this on the news. It was every other day for about a good 3 to 4 month period. And this is how we kind of knew or, expected that things were going to actually happen for Bitcoin ETFs because there had never been this amount of discussion before. For the Ethereum ETFs, we had no news for around 2 months. We had indications that companies had filed, and then it kind of fell there. There were no discussions of conversations, of privately held conversations, which apparently happened many times between the SEC and BlackRock. And then all of a sudden, 2 days ago, we got news that I think 2 companies filed their spot Ethereum ETF ticker symbols on the DTCC's website, which is something you don't do unless you have been given a ticker symbol for an actual stock exchange as a security, etc., etc. So then we started hearing these rumblings once again that apparently this was a go. If you saw on my Twitter, I even posted that another company just posted on the DTCC's website, and therefore it looks as if it's going to happen. So, of course, that's the major news of the day. The SEC has been in discussions with these companies as far as we know right now. There's no, at the time of me making this video, there's no approval yet. But the expectation is that there wouldn't be this much rumbling behind the scenes. Companies would not have posted on the DTCC's website unless they had already been given the approval. And that at some point, the SEC will actually announce when all of this is currently going to happen. It says companies have submitted a modified Ethereum ETF form to the SEC. It appears that the main issue with the ETF applications originally had to do with staking. The SEC is, I'm not sure exactly what's wrong with them, but the way that other ETFs around the world, especially for Ethereum, have worked is that they have allowed staking. Staking is a part of the Ethereum network, but the SEC probably considers it a security because they have nothing better to do with their time. So the idea is that, baked into the Ethereum network, people can stake their coins for passive income. So if people were going to be buying the Ethereum ETF shares, it would also have staking, if you will, baked into it, which would allow people who are holding the Ethereum ETF to receive passive income from holding the actual shares. We had news 2 weeks ago that apparently one of the companies had modified their application, basically taking out the word staking and just simply saying that they would be collecting Ethereum themselves. And that got people thinking, why would they have resubmitted the form unless someone in the SEC had told them, hey, you need to change this sentence right here, and then maybe we can talk after that. And that's when we heard the other companies began to modify it. They had all taken out the word staking. So that appears to have been the issue. No word as to exactly why, because the SEC does not regulate. They simply use force. So no one came forward and said that staking was a problem because of A, B, and C. It was simply, no, we're rejecting all the forms. Someone figured out the word staking was in there, and then it has been changed. As you might have seen, the cryptocurrency market was pumping quite recently in price. It was basically because of this news. As I've mentioned before in other videos, and just is the way of history, when Ethereum pumps, the altcoins pump as well, as they are all tied to Ethereum and have been since around 2017 or so. So the expectation is, if these get approved, Ethereum's price will pump and the altcoins will completely go sky high, as a number of people have been waiting for them to do so. In the so-called alt season, altcoin season, which typically takes place as Bitcoin is pumping a couple of, like a month or two after the halving has taken place. But all eyes are currently on Ethereum. It says Ethereum remains above $3,800. The underlying asset jumped by over 20% in a matter of hours and tapped a multi-week high of over $3,800 at the time of me making this video. The market is going sideways, and some coins are down by 0.5%. Like, it's like one of those days, simply because everyone is literally holding their breath. We've gone over this for a number of months. I told everyone, if we don't get ETF approvals, the market will be just fine. But this news has really ramped people up, and assuming that we're going to hear confirmation today that we're getting the Ethereum ETF approvals. And as right now, as I'm making this video, people in the States are sleeping. So therefore, there's like a heavy lull in the market because we're waiting for the news from the States, as it were. Also in the news, people are looking for a time when this is going to happen. So people on CNBC said, or are thinking, that this is going to happen around 16 o'clock New Jersey time. For those of you who don't know what 16 o'clock is, it roughly comes, it is 4 o'clock in the afternoon. They're expecting it to happen as markets close, which is similar to what we saw for the Bitcoin ETFs. Basically, like waiting to the very last moment, someone announces it, walks off stage, the markets close, and then, yada, yada, yada. This then pumps up the anticipation for the very next day, which is exactly what happened for the Bitcoin ETFs as well. I wish they had some other way of doing this, as opposed to is it meant to be like a mic drop kind of thing? I'm not really sure. So they have a whole bunch of different times, and I realize that this is actually a website from overseas, obviously, as many of them are. It said that the SEC approval for the Bitcoin applications was at 22:45. That's 10:45 at night, and predicted that the decision regarding the spot ETFs for Ethereum would happen around 23. So that's 11 o'clock at night, European time. Yeah, therefore it would be 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon in the States. Bloomberg analyst James Seifert also stated that I agree with Balchunas's prediction, and said there is no set time for the SEC to announce its Ethereum ETF decision, but the expectation is that it will be around market closing. It may come late in the morning, but it does not seem likely to me this decision will be made before 6 p.m. tomorrow evening. I can almost guarantee it will come. Yeah, that's the time frame that we have now. The SEC does as they will. But if there is, obviously, of course, a yay, and these things actually end up happening, the market is going to go into a complete frenzy. The movement up for 19% that we saw a day and a half, 2 days ago, was literally because someone had refiled their application. That was just a refiling. The refiling indicates that they've been in talks with the SEC, and they basically said, if you amend this, if you change this line, if you change what's on page 14 and refile it back to us, then we're all a go. But also the listings on the DTCC website would not have happened unless there had already been some kind of a yay. Sorry. It says Ethereum ETF approval could spur a 60% rally as ETH buying increases. Yeah, so here we go. The price predictions are sky high in both ways. There are tons of price predictions out there, And there are tons of prices that people think that Ethereum is going to go to. Just from the refiling, we went up by 19%. People think that an actual like thumbs up, you got 'em situation could cause Ethereum to rise by 60%. We are getting, boy howdy, when I tell you the market is quite optimistic right now. The numbers, $10,000 to $12,000 per Ether in the summer, are stronger than you might imagine. As we were, I believe, in the high $30,000 range for Bitcoin, we rose to above $70,000. Bitcoin basically doubling in price after we got the news of the ETFs, and of course over the next couple of months, what have you. Ethereum's market cap is lower and in a sense has a lot less liquidity as far as, Bitcoin being a $1 trillion market cap, what have you. The idea is that as Ether costs less than a Bitcoin, people would essentially lose their minds and buy as much Ether as they possibly can. There's a higher percentage of people who would be able to buy an Ethereum for $3,800 than a Bitcoin for $56,000. Therefore, the accumulation frenzy, like the 19% happened in like an hour. It is literally because of the levels of liquidity for Ethereum. And therefore, if the ETFs do indeed happen, people are literally saying by like the beginning of July, we would have a $10,000 Ether, which is then, at that point, I step back a tiny bit because the expectations for the end of the year, I've seen all the numbers. People are talking about a $15,000 to $20,000 Ether. This is also with the expectation of that time of Bitcoin also having pumped above six figures. The amount of attention being paid on our markets. There are already Ethereum ETFs in other parts of the world who are also getting a lot of extra attention right now, especially at the time of me making this video, as those markets are already open. So yeah, you got here at a very good time in the market. I always keep saying, like, you should be actually quite happy and you're very lucky for being in the market at this time, because people, people keep Googling or they will find YouTube videos like, am I late? Am I, is it okay for me to get into the market now? Is Bitcoin's price to, and it's like, you don't understand how early you are. We are still having discussions in the United States as if someone can securitize a version of Ethereum. You're very early to the market. You're very early price-wise as well. The craziest one I saw was a 2030 prediction for Ethereum of $100,000. For those of you who don't understand the significance of 2030, it is meant to be like the beginning of the wild times for all of the market as Bitcoin gets near the 2032 halving, which only as Bitcoin is released from the machine, it's no longer even an entire Bitcoin. It is just in Satoshis, which is insane to think about. For those of you who also do not know, Ethereum is also deflationary. They don't have the same 4-year thing that Bitcoin does, like kind of automatically. I don't know what the time frame is, but Ethereum's minted supply, created supply, also decreases quite rapidly as the years go on. And I think that there's even less Ether being created than Bitcoin at the moment. Ethereum is also deflationary in burn manner. I don't know how people miss this one, but I'm seeing a lot of articles with people talking about it as if it's something brand new. Every time there's an Ethereum transaction, some Ether is burned. And if there are enough Ethereum transactions, Ethereum is currently and also becomes deflationary. The more people who are using it, the more of a burn there is. And, the expectation is that if we get near $7,000, $8,000 Ether, the burn will only increase. So the price predictions are quite heavy right now. They're really all over the place. Hong Kong ETFs for Ethereum are seeing record inflows. It is not anything surprising. They've been doing quite well as well. The attention is constantly, always just paid to ETFs within the United States, and I keep saying that there are other ETFs around the world. The issue ends up being is that when the American ETFs have an inflow of around, $300 million in a day, the other ones around the world may have $47 million, and therefore, of course, 300 is going to be more prominent in the news. But no, they're accumulating huge amounts of these coins as well. There was never really a lot of Ether on the market in the first place. There are tons of projects on top of Ethereum who have been buying and accumulating and collecting and also staking their Ether as well. That number also continues to increase. So I give it October. We're probably going to have a lot of Ethereum supply crunch news as well. Ethereum was usually before touted as there's too many coins, until we started getting other coins coming after it. The maximum that there can ever be for Bitcoin is 21 million. For Ethereum, there is no limit, but that's because it's set to be deflationary. So new coins can be minted, what have you, but also new coins are also burned in the background. So the 120 million supply of Ethereum continues to decrease all the time. And also, once again, 120 million is not a lot when you have multiple other coins that have 100 billion coins. And also, the Ethereum whales usually are holding hundreds of thousands of Ether as well. So you get the idea. There's also not a lot of Ether, but Bitcoin, of course, being the number one coin, ends up taking the larger portion of the news. This one says Ethereum's price will hit 6,600 after spot ETF approval. It seems believable. That's the immediate number that people are throwing out there. There were multiple of them. I don't have to show you every single one. But the idea is that the price would begin pumping like crazy. This also attributes to the idea that, so if we get to 6,600 just off of the everyday person and institution, going to Coinbase and Kraken and Binance and buying these coins, upon the market opening on Monday, we would then begin to receive news of people buying the actual Ethereum ETFs and how much money is flowing into these things. And that's where you get the 10,000 number from, because the amount of accumulation ramping up quite quickly. Is this one also the same? Not really sure. No, this is also something else. But yes, the Ethereum news is quite prominent. We are getting a lot of it right now. We will see as the course of the day goes on. I'm very proud of myself. I've done exceptionally well not getting my hopes up over the course of the last couple of months, because I was like, Ethereum will do fine regardless. We were going to a $10,000 Ether without the ETFs. Of course, similar to Bitcoin, if we have the ETFs, of course, the price movements will go a lot quicker. And this time I think there's, I don't want to say even more excitement, but the excitement here is also relatively palpable, because Ethereum is tied to every other altcoin. So if Ethereum goes to 6,600, altcoins are going to pump. If Ethereum is at $10,000 by summertime, other altcoins will have doubled and tripled in price at that point. Yeah, that's all the Ethereum news that we have for now. The market is quite excited. I'm still trying not to go blue in the face and waiting to see what the actual news is. That's the Ethereum ETF news. And yeah, let's move on. The Bitcoin news, of course, being price expectations. A lot of people are saying that Bitcoin is where it needs to be price-wise. A lot of people, if you look at anyone who's talking about charts, or the number that's constantly thrown around, at least at the time of me making this video, is $69,000. If Bitcoin can maintain above 69,000 or even go above 70, I think the exact number is $70,500 at closing. Bitcoin has no close, what have you, but the idea is that when markets close, I don't know why we're still living in the 1920s talking about other markets closing, but if Bitcoin can end the day at 70,500. The expectation is that we're going to take 75,000, which is above the previous all-time high, therefore setting the stage for a for a movement above 90 and 100,000. The calls for a $100,000 Bitcoin are a lot. I don't want to say the word too much, but everyone is literally expecting the exact same thing to happen. Bitcoin's price may hit $95,000 in June, and it says, but how? By going up, by accumulating it. We are still looking at that time frame, the June, end of June, the early July, for those of you who were not here. That is the beginning, or the time frame actually, for the 3-month Bitcoin price prediction. As we had them before, there was a chart that we had that had numbers for the 3-month, 6-month, and 9-month period after the halving and how much Bitcoin typically moves up in price. And the number was, after 3 months, anywhere from 30 to 80% movement up. What I do think is happening, if I can be completely honest with you, no market is immune from manipulation. And if you've been paying attention to any of the last, I want to say 3,000 videos, the amount of accumulation for Bitcoin is quite intense right now. The companies who are buying it, the institutions, the banks, it's all been in the news constantly over and over and over. And they know what they're doing to make sure that Bitcoin's price stays as low as possible. I don't know their means of doing it, as I am not a corrupt bank and institution. But they do not want Bitcoin to go too high, because if we get above a certain point, Bitcoin begins to pump. And the major issue is that they want all the Bitcoin for themselves. So they are in turn incentivized to buy over the counter, to not have this news go on CNBC and all these other places, because and CNBC also isn't even for like the everyday person. But as I've mentioned before, if this news ended up hitting mainstream news platforms and people heard what was happening to the US dollar, for those of you who missed it, the US dollar has lost 99.9% of its value to Bitcoin. But none of that, of course, is reported. So as we move closer, ever closer to the $100,000 Bitcoin, the price predictions continue to emerge. The most attention right now is basically being paid to Ethereum, if you hadn't noticed. But a lot of people are still very bullish. I noticed also, this is funny to me, a lot of Bitcoin maximalists have kind of been losing their... I mean, like, actually losing their minds on Twitter. It's like really interesting to see a number of Bitcoin like hyper maximalists, not like Bitcoin's the greatest coin ever, but like Bitcoin is the only cryptocurrency. It's the only thing that's going to exist. We can only have Bitcoin. No other coin is going to be around in 10 years. Like that level of maximalists. About a month ago, we're all screaming on Twitter, that there was never going to be an Ethereum ETF. And I just sat there. I was like, okay, sure, cool. And now that it looks like we might get multiple Ethereum ETFs, they're literally ranting online, talking about how evil Ethereum is. And I know secrets and I know things. And I'm like, it's an ETF, dude. Like, it's not... Like, I don't know what's wrong with people. I really think that a lot of people just need to go outside and get some air, like crack a window or something. It sounds like I'm joking, but I think a lot of people like obsess over the market. I think they sit at home and do nothing. And like they categorize themselves into such like a small corner that an ETF can set them off. Like, what are people going to do if there's ever a Litecoin or heaven forbid, an XRP ETF? I think these people would go absolutely bananas. It's really weird to see like grown people acting this way online. And most of these people are like multimillionaires and billionaires. And it's like, you have nothing. You are a Bitcoin billionaire. You have nothing better to do with your time. Nothing. You're sitting on Twitter arguing with 20-year-olds and getting furious over the idea that there might be 5 or 6 Ethereum ETFs. That's interesting, to say the least. Bitcoin's price could surge to $140,000 in 3 months if history rhymes. Yeah, you already know what's going on. It's that time frame once again with the expectations of where Bitcoin's price is going to go. So also I saw like a lot of really weird, like, this has to happen news. So I think the revenue for people who are mining Bitcoin has mathematically gone down by half, but it's also cutting into their revenue stream. And I was reading a couple of things, and it was talking about that, like, Bitcoin must rise to actually like fill in the gaps of how much money that they're missing. And I thought, maybe it's me, I thought it was weird because it was more of a, well, Bitcoin magically has to go up to actually like make these people money, as opposed to being like, oh snaps, all the accumulation that we've been seeing the last couple of weeks and months has been absolutely staggering. These ETF issuers hold hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin, and that's the reason why Bitcoin's going to continue rising in price. I appreciate the optimism. I truly, truly do. But I think we just need to like literally go over 75,000 to kind of get the momentum back into the market. It's fun to talk about $140,000 Bitcoin. Like, I mean, it's wonderful. 3 months is as June, July, August. That'd be fantastic, because that means by December we're definitely going to 200K, which then also gets us to that really weird like $500,000 Bitcoin prediction sometime next year, which I think is wonderful, but also like, people are gonna be just so anyway. Yeah, cool. A lot of Bitcoin price predictions popping back up. I'm not really sure if it's because of the interest currently surrounding Ether, and therefore everyone's like, well, Bitcoin can also do this kind, that kind of thing. I'm not really sure, but still waiting. So end of May, and then all of June, and then like the first week of July. So that's 4, 5, 6, that's 7. I'd say 6.5 weeks away for us to get to that 100K Bitcoin. And then if another month passes by and we can get to 140,000, boy howdy, that'd be just swell. Is this something similar as well? Oh, that's something. Oh no, actually, it's in the same kind of topic. Analyst predicts XRP's price to reach $8 to $13 after consolidation. For those of you who do not know, the energy around XRP once again is like lightly palpable. You can see like its aura beginning to rise. People historically have always thrown out larger numbers for XRP. It's just always been a thing within the market. However, the expectation that we're getting right now, for those of you who've missed it, is that the people from Ripple are creating an XRP stablecoin. Also in like what news is that apparently the trademark for it is RLUSD, I guess Ripple USD, and go outside and like get some air. If you can walk around your block and just like breathe heavy in through your nose, out your mouth, try it a couple times. Maybe it'll actually help you. This is an article talking about how people online were upset that they're not calling it USDX, like for XRP, or USDR, like Ripple. So people had a problem with their filing, as opposed to being happy that they're doing the thing that people have been asking them to do for 7 years. Why is there always an issue with something? Why is there always a problem with something that's happening? Why can people in this space never be content? Why is there always... You do not own the company Ripple. You are not COO, you're not CTO, you're not CFO, you're not CEO. You will never work for Ripple. You probably own some XRP, and in your mind, you're like, well, I have a say what's happening within the company. No, unless you own the majority of shares within Ripple, I don't really know what to tell you. I mean, you can complain to them online and stuff like that, but they probably had it like focus grouped, or maybe there were other stable coins already created, because we've had hundreds that have been created over the years, and there was probably already a USDX that no one's using, but it's taken, and a USDR that was probably already taken, because there's anyway. So the situation right now is that Ripple is creating a stable coin, and the stable coin will be on top of the XRP blockchain. And as the stable coin is being used, as we saw before in April, stable coins do trillions of dollars worth of transactions in a month. And therefore, Ripple told us before that they're already working with dozens of banks around the world, some central banks around the world as well. People keep forgetting this news. And they probably want to use that coin in some kind of system that they're doing. And people are like, well, I don't want a stable coin. And it's like, okay, well, they're using the stable coin, so XRP would also be burned behind the scenes, which is also a wonderful thing, because if a central bank is sending $16 billion in a month, that's a ginormous amount of XRP, because you can't print any more XRP, so the supply is always going lower. But no, people had to find a problem with it. So the news is that people are expecting, after the lawsuit is over for Ripple versus XRP, that Ripple said that they're already working with dozens of banks within the United States, what they've been slightly restricted from doing because of the entire lawsuit. Therefore, if they're working with the US banks and they're working with other global banks, and they have a stable coin which is running on top of the blockchain, and we have tons of other companies who are already actually using XRP as well, therefore, once the pressure from the lawsuit is gone, XRP price go up. That's the general idea. The gigantic elephant in the room has 3 letters on it, and they're SEC, which has literally caused the price of XRP to not move in a couple of years. I've seen people online as well being like, why isn't the price moving? And I'm like, do you understand what the SEC is? The SEC is asking Ripple for $3 billion in damages. What damages? I don't know. It should be the other way around. I wish there was a way for Ripple to get that money from the SEC, because they're asking for billions of dollars from a company who they've been unable to prove anything about. The SEC has constantly made claims against Ripple, and over this 4-year lawsuit, they have not proved any of them. So when you have $3 billion hanging over your head, of course, there's not going to be much interest from the United States, and this is why Ripple has been doing well in other parts of the world. See how much logic that was? It's crazy, right? Logic is a thing. Also in the news, the Fed released a survey of how many people were using crypto, but the problem is that they didn't ask everyone if they were using crypto. Let me explain. Also in slightly not popular, but like in their news, the Federal Reserve of the United States, the people who print the money, released a survey of how many Americans are actually using crypto. For those of you not looking at the screen, it says 18 million Americans used or owned crypto in 2023. This is according to a Fed survey. Just 1% of U.S. adults reported using crypto for payment or to send money in 2023. You want to know the problem with that? They did not ask 350 million Americans if they were using crypto. I think they asked around 300 people. And from that number, they got to the number only 18 million people are in crypto. So that's also popular news right now. And I saw a number of news outlets reporting like, no one's using crypto in America. And it's like, sure, that makes a lot of sense. You could, because imagine going back to high school and taking 300 people and asking them if they know like a very specific thing and going, well, no one in my high school knows it, so I guess no one in the United States knows what this is either. Oh, what a world that we live in. So this is also, out there news right now. It's also estimated that we have between 100 and 150 million people around the world using crypto. The Fed said that they were also asking people how many of them, what was it? had reported their crypto to the U.S. government. I forgot exactly what it was, and it was like, okay, well, that's also a little bit weird. So yeah, that's the Fed news that's popping up around the space as well. What's this one? And also, I think we need to let it go news. Yesterday was Bitcoin Pizza Day. It's an old story from like the beginning of Bitcoin, where people were trying to find use cases for Bitcoin, or if anyone would actually accept Bitcoin. And there's a guy who's talked to someone online 14 years ago and was like, hey, if you can deliver me 2 pizzas, I'll give you 10,000 Bitcoin. It was meant to be, lighthearted and warm. Like, let's do this. We can show that Bitcoin is actually used. And he spent 10,000 Bitcoin on 2 pizzas. But every year people keep bringing it up, and like it's more of like a meme at this point. It's more of a joke where people kind of make fun of him. And it's like, I think it's worth around, what was it, $7 billion? Like, it's some astronomical amount of money or something like that. And I just kind of feel bad for him. But every year it's called Bitcoin Pizza Day. No one wants to be remembered for that. And I mean, in 28 years, are we still going to be talking about Bitcoin Pizza Day, just making this guy feel even worse that him and his family don't have $100 billion? So, yeah, that just shows how many things actually happen within this space that we have to keep talking about Bitcoin Pizza Day. But I guess that's just where we are as a society. Yeah, that's the Bitcoin pizza news. Moving along. Yeah. So at the moment, Bitcoin is down by 0.5%. It's at 69,645. Ethereum is up by 1.71%. It is at $3,798. We are still, we're still below the actual all-time high. I think the previous all-time high for Ether, wasn't it 4,800? So we have a long way to go. Many other altcoins are down by 1 or 2%. It's fairly common if the market is moving sideways and all the attention is being paid on Ether. The Telegram coin is up by 2.5%. No idea why. There was no Telegram news. Anything else crazy? Ethereum Classic is up by 1.5%. That's actually, it's like heartwarming, but also sad to see that as well. Immutable X is up by 1.8. Caspa, okay, is up by 3.1. Bit Tensor DAO, I don't even want to know what that is. I'm not gonna even lie to you. Arbitrum is up by 2.5. Dog Whiff Hat is up by 6.9% because we live in some sort of dystopian realm. And Monero is up by 2.1%, which also makes no sense as it's been constantly delisted from multiple different cryptocurrency exchanges. Yeah, we'll see what happens as the day drags on. We have no choice. The future will happen with or without us, and we're going to see exactly what happens over the course of the day if this ends up happening. Just be ready for all the price movements that are going to happen. I do hope that you've all enjoyed. I do hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.